everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to my channel. So, my topic for today is possessions. Not the kind of like devil possessions that some people talk about in terms of, being completely taken over. Although, now that I say that, it kind of a little bit is like that. The possessions that I'm referring to are actually our earthly stuff. And so the workbook lesson number two that I'm going to be basing this on, I have given everything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me is what we're going to be discussing today. But it is true that we get really wrapped up in our stuff, and it can really take us over. We can literally be possessed by our possessions. And, because it's part of the ego jam, right? That you have to have all this stuff in this world, that you have to have all these things, and that we infuse these things with all this meaning. We give every single thing that there is in this world all the meaning that it has for us. Stuff, things, material possessions do not have any meaning inherently on their own. Everything is neutral. So we give everything a story, a backstory, what it means to us. We make meaning out of everything. We make meaning out of the stupidest stuff. And then we get all attached to it. It becomes part of the whole story and theme, and then we have all these emotions about it. And so one of my favorite stories about my own journey with regard to stuff and possessions has to do with a few years ago when I moved during the pandemic twice in 13 months. And in doing so, both times I had to go, and the place that I was moving to was not ready before I needed to exit the former place. And so both times I had to go live someplace else for like a month. And so I literally moved my possessions like with movers and everything, into storage and then out of storage a month later, and then 13 months later into storage and then out of storage a month later. And so I was moving my possessions all around like I was a professional fucking mover. And then also when I was in the place that I was living in, I was unpacking everything and going through everything. And it's amazing what happens when you pack up all your stuff. First of all, you're going through all your stuff. I did that all when I moved from one place that I had been living in for 11 years. So I went through all that stuff at first, and I purged, and I looked at everything. I went over everything. I recycled and repurposed and did all of that. And then a month later, when I was unpacking it all, I did that again. And then, like I said, and just over a year later, I did all of that again. So I did a lot of looking at my material possessions and holding them in my hand and, doing that whole Marie Kondo thing of deciding whether they brought me joy or not, and decided what to do with them. And it was such a great lesson in looking at our possessions in the same way that we look at our thoughts. Right there, it's the same thing. So when I was looking at these possessions and deciding whether they still served me or not, does it fit into my life? Does it fit? Period. Does it fit my body? Is it still representative of who I am now? Does it bring me joy and happiness and loving feelings to look at it, to have it around me? Does it remind me of someone or something fun that I did? Or, is it something that I was holding on to that really isn't serving me anymore? that I'm just keeping around out of habit, or maybe because I feel guilty. Maybe somebody gave it to me and it doesn't really suit me, but I keep it because I feel bad that about getting rid of it because somebody gave it to me. And so I feel like I would be being a bad gift recipient if I passed it along to maybe somebody else that would be a better fit for it. And isn't that what we do with our, isn't that true about our thoughts, right? Like we may have our thoughts and beliefs, and we really need to go through them and look at them and hold them up for examination in the light and really decide whether this meaning that this thing has for me, this not this thing but this thought has for me, this idea, this belief, this self concept, this thought that I have about the world, about how things work, this concept that I have about whether I am good enough or whether I am lovable, whether I'm innocent, or the opposite of those things, whether I'm not good enough, whether I'm not lovable, whether I'm guilty, or all of those thoughts and those underlying beliefs that we have made meaning of ourselves. Those things are not the ultimate truth. They are just what we believe to be true and we've made true just because that's what we think. And things aren't true just because we think they are in terms of the ultimate truth. Like truth is truth and nothing else is true, as A Course in Miracles says. However, what is true for each of us, meaning what plays out in the world and what creates our reality in this world with a small r, our reality, is what we have decided is true for us. And if we've decided something is true for us, for instance, that we are not lovable or we're not worthy or we're defective in some way or we're undeserving, then that will play itself out in our lives. And that will be the vibration at which we live and from which we attract everything and person and circumstance and experience in the world. And so when I was unpacking and deciding what to do with all of these possessions, it was such a metaphor for me. It really did hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, okay, well, this is what I got to do, this with my thoughts. I got to go through the beliefs that I've been holding for a long time about myself, about relationships, about abundance and prosperity, about what I do for work and what I love doing, what I spend my time doing, who I spend it in companionship with. Where am I partitioning my energy, and what kinds of thoughts am I holding in my mind? Am I holding thoughts of guilt about other people? Am I holding people in blame and in responsibility for my happiness? And what are the stories that I've been dragging around with me my whole life, making meaning out of whatever seemed to occur? And when you do this, it's so freeing in the same way that purging your stuff is so freeing, and then having everything in your closet be something that you love and you feel good about wearing, that you feel like it looks good on you, it's flattering, just raises your vibration to wear it. Not that like hot dress that you wore in 20 years ago that you spent a lot of money on and it's a cocktail dress and you were hot then, but it's like 2 sizes too small now. Am I the only one that happens to? And so, and it would make that kind of a situation, that kind of a dress would make me feel like shit every time I looked at it. Oh, it's so pretty. Geez, it doesn't fit me anymore. Or I don't go to places like that now or whatever. And so I'm going to decide, just like with a possession like that, a dress like that, I'm going to decide that this doesn't suit me anymore. This doesn't fit who I am now. And that there doesn't have to be shame and guilt about it like the ego would have us experience when we're going through our possessions, feeling like, oh, you have to hold on to that because your mother-in-law gave it to you, and you're going to feel really bad if she comes to visit and says, oh, where's that so and so thing that I gave you? And you're going to feel like you have to like drag it out when she comes to visit because it doesn't suit you. Maybe it never suited you, or maybe it doesn't now, and you don't want to feel guilty and bad and like you're a a bad person or a bad friend or whatever because you're not, or like you feel like you're ungrateful. We can be very grateful for people's thoughtfulness, people thinking of us, people gifting us. We can receive gifts, graciously, and at the same time understand that that doesn't really fit me, it doesn't really suit me, so I'm going to pass that on to somebody who would really find a lot of joy in it. And the same thing again holds true when other people share their thoughts with us or share their beliefs with us. We don't have to accept those as our truth. We don't have to take them in as gospel. We also don't have to reject them out of hand or judge people for having those beliefs, right? If those are their beliefs, if those are their possessions and they love them and they're attached to them, then okay. But we get to decide what we keep and what we release. And so when we look at this lesson 2 in the workbook of A Course in Miracles, and I'm just going to say it in its short form, I have given everything all the meaning that it has for me. And this lesson is a lesson in training the mind to look at everything the same, everything as neutral, everything as having no meaning whatsoever, whether it is a pen or a chair or a window or a vehicle or an arm or a body or another person's body or our favorite piece of clothing or shoes, a diamond necklace, a garbage pail. It's all the same. It's all neutral. And the only thing that makes us classify it in any way and prioritize it in any kind of order and have it be favorite or I don't like it or I hate that or it's ugly or it's beautiful is the meaning that we have infused it with our thoughts and our beliefs. And so that lesson is training us to disidentify with the body and with the world and the world of in time and space and the possessions and the things and the stuff of the world as being our reality. And in the same way, what I'm suggesting is that we go through and do the same thing with our thoughts and recognize that those egoic thoughts, the thoughts that we have in our minds, and the litmus test is how do they make us feel when we have certain thoughts? Are they thoughts that generate love, gratitude, and forgiveness, and trust, and faith, and humor, and all of that certainty, and just those things that make us feel really good? Or are they thoughts that make us feel shitty? Are they thoughts that bring us down and are depressing and despairing and frightening and angry and resentful and whatever those other whatever those other thoughts and beliefs are that cause us to just not feel good inside when we're thinking them. That's how we know whether we are choosing love and we're choosing to think with our authentic selves, our spirit mind, that part of ourselves that is connected directly to God, or whether we're thinking with the ego mind and those thoughts that are based in fear and based in a world that is not our truth. And so that's really my message for you today, is to think about what's possessing you, both in your possessions in your life and those beliefs, and determine whether they are those high vibe, loving thoughts of light and beliefs about yourself and your beauty and your innocence as an extension of God and as the light of the world, which is the truth of who you are, or whether they are some other definition of you that just doesn't fit and it doesn't suit and it doesn't really look good on you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love being with you like this. I'm here every week talking about the practical application of the Course in Miracles. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you want to be able to watch these every week, have notification of them, please hit the subscribe button. And also you can click below and get a free gift from me in the form of, you can download a variety of gifts. There's actually a few things listed below. But daily prayer and meditation practice is what I think is one of the most valuable gifts that there are there, because it starts your day out in that place of clarity, blank slate, and just whatever is in your mind. There is a part in that meditation that whatever's in your mind that is interfering between yourself and your communion with spirit in starting your day, that you just put that stuff all on the altar, all those possessions that are in your mind, all of those thoughts about wants and needs and goals and intentions or grievances, whatever, and you just put them on the altar and allow them to be transformed by the light of wholeness and oneness, so you can start your day like that and start it with clarity and with spirit. So I love you so much. I'll see you next week.